Society's way of measuring a person's dedication to something is by the famous question, what are you ready to die for? If you're ready to die for something, we know you're committed. And many people have an answer, yes, I'm ready to die for this, for that. But when you really think about it, who's asking us to die for anything today? Are we ever challenged to that level? No, the answer is, of course, 99.9% of us, we're never challenged with that. So how do we know our dedication? I think the real question today has to be asked is not what are you ready to die for, but what are you ready to live for? You see, 100 years ago, in communist Russia, in the 20s and 30s, when the Bolsheviks outlawed spreading Judaism in Russia, and the previous Rebbe and his Hasidim had to literally give up their life for this. Actually, tomorrow, the 12th day of Tammuz, is the great festival of his liberation from his imprisonment in Soviet Russia in 1927. They sentenced him to death because he stood up to them and would never buckle. He promoted Judaism and didn't stop for a second, opened schools, opened mikvahs, opened, kosher slaughtering houses. He did everything, him and his disciples. And they caught up with him and they finally arrested him. They sentenced him to death. And with a miracle and God's help, the American intervention, it was commuted to a 3-year exile in a gulag, which was also after 9 days changed, and he was completely released, and they forced him out of Russia. But many of his students actually did die. They were shot because of their dedication to Judaism in the shooting squads of the 30s. Many of them were sent to the gulags for many, many years, decades, and some of them never came back alive. Many of them, some of them did, but look what they lost so many years of their life. That's dedication. They were called upon to ask, that question was relevant to them. What are you ready to die for? But for us, we don't have those questions. So what's the inspiration of tomorrow's holiday, of this great day of celebration with the previous Rebbe and his ways, his determination, his dedication against the Soviet regime? And the day we celebrate that, what does it mean for us? And I think, again, the question is, what are we ready to live for? What I mean by that is, are you ready to give up some of your comforts? How much are you ready to live for the ideals that you hold dear? And if you can't answer that question, that's a problem. So it's no longer about how much are you ready to die. Are you ready to die for something? Because that's theoretical. The question of how much are you ready to live for? Are you ready to give up some comforts? You're ready to give up some money? Are you ready to give up some of your time, your resources? That's a question you got to ask yourself looking in the mirror. What am I really living for? Now, what am I dying for? And that's the question that is relevant to us today. And I hope we have a good answer. Live deeper, commit yourself, give of yourself. That's the inspiration. I just want to end off by saying that today when you look back, the Soviet Russia, the regime in the 20s, 30s, 40s, looked like it was the strongest regime in the world. The previous Rebbe was one man with maybe a few hundred Hasidim, maybe a couple of thousand. Who knows what the number was, but it was tiny. And he stood up like a lion to this force. And when you look today, 90 years later, 100 years later, the Soviets are gone. There's nothing left of them. The people that arrested out the previous Rebbe and tortured him were all killed by Stalin. He was so paranoid, he killed them all. But the Hasidim, Judaism, the things that the previous Rebbe stood for and died for, but today, hundreds of Chabad scattered all over the former Soviet Union, thousands and tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of Jews living, going to camps, going to classes, going to shul, just living Judaism. Who won this battle? May we win all our battles. Just live for something for real and you'll win all the time. Shabbat Shalom.